everyone. Welcome back to The Retail Story, a podcast series that explores how technology is transforming retail, both from the business and consumer perspectives. This is the part two of my conversation with Shahin, Head of Product Management, e-commerce at Extra. If you missed the part one of this conversation, please follow the link in our playlists below. So we begin our second part. I hope you enjoy it. There may be differences or maybe contrasting comparisons between how personalization is done in fashion, like only the fashion part of retail, and how it is done in electronics. And how do you think hyper local or online offline focus and strategy is different for both fashion and our domain, which is consumer electronics?
So, from my perspective, again, so I always think about this. This thing really intrigues me when I think about it, right? So there's an IQ and there's an EQ, right?
Right.
So a person has his own IQ,
Mhm.
has his own EQ as well, right? And with respect to collecting data, what we usually do is we we try to attack the IQ element of this customer to say that, okay, customer, you have basically purchased this in the past, this in the past, this in the past. Um, and then that is where we probably stop. And I know this is probably going a bit too advanced in terms of a thought process. This is something that just intrigues me. I don't know. I mean, we are living in a world of AI. I don't know. Anything can happen in the future, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
This is the element that probably somehow gets lost in translation is this person's EQ at that point of time. Because again, uh, every let's say every motion of a customer is being tracked at this point of time, right? So to say
Right.
as an example, I've been a customer who's been buying, let's say, iPhones all my life as an example, right? And probably that is my data at this point of time. But me as a customer, my heart is also telling me that I need to change, and I am,
Mhm.
let's say, directly or indirectly looking at other brands as an example. So whatever that is, now that is my EQ element which needs to be factored. Once we marry this, let's say, EQ and IQ part, I call it marrying EQ and IQ of a customer,
Mhm. Mhm.
then I really don't see a difference between, of course, there are difference in trends between, let's say, fashion versus technology or digital,
Mhm.
digital as an example, or appliances, etc. The point is, as long as we gather the data right, the the kind of personalization that we would do for, let's say, fashion versus consumer electronics is not going to be really different per se, according to me at least. Trends may change, how we communicate, how we market certain elements would be different. So the how, when I say how, the how of marketing probably, etc., would change. But purely from a personalization, I really don't see a lot of difference with respect to how I would
Mhm.
personalize for a consumer electronics. My data would be different. Again, of course, everything is based on data. My
Right.
data for fashion is different. My data for consumer electronics is completely different. My and again, it's also about getting this consolidated data. So slightly again on a gray zone, because we are talking about
Mhm.
consolidating data across the world,
Verticals.
across,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's uh, again, we're talking about something that's really superficial. So, but from a from a, let's say, from a personalization perspective, it's the methodology of personalization, the base methodology of personalization for me does not. This is me personally saying it does not differ for, let's say, consumer electronics versus fashion. Data that
Okay.
is
Okay.
supporting this personalization would change,
Mhm.
and how we execute, let's say, the personalization would change, how we execute the endpoint of the personalization. But personalizing Shine to say this is Shine, identifying Shine as Shine in consumer electronics versus identifying Shine as Shine on fashion would still remain the same.
Right. Right. Very, very like relevant here. Both EQ and IQ very important while we are using personalization and tools to make sure that the customer experience is enriched, enhanced, and they come back again and again.
Exactly. It's
It's
all
not
about
just
repeat.
that, yes,
It's a so I mean I think in this world of competition, it's all about repeat customers. It's
true,
all about loyalty, not exactly as loyalty points, etc., but loyalty towards a brand. Uh, See, one thing that determines especially retail digital space is price wars, and this is known to everyone, right?
true.
Price war is something that as retail competition is something we can't get over. To be very honest, it'll be there forever. And the more the competition, the bigger the price wars would be. So the only differentiator would be to basically get repeat customers back. And personalization is one important element with respect to how we get these repeat customers back or loyal customers back to us.
Right, right. And that's where I would be, interested in knowing how retailers can differentiate themselves and build top of the mind, brand recall, or how would you make sure that a customer who's coming to extra.com comes back and back and back?
Yeah. So uh, as I said, right, from a price perspective, sometimes it's not very easy to match prices, right? It's all again, there's always this uh, there's always one devil fighting the other. So I basically want to give the best price to a
True,
customer. At the same time, I need to take care of my margins. I need to take care of my
true.
uh, profits, etc. So otherwise, we'll not run as a business. If you just basically run flat with any kind of pricing, then there's no point running a giant business as an example. So the differentiating factor over here should be to give the right dosage of personalized let's say experiences to customer, right? And that can be
Mhm.
uh, an experience can be with the way you talk to a customer, as an example, when you talk in stores, right?
True.
um, I've worked in, let's say, industries and stores where uh, the feedback that has been coming from customers would be merely to say that nobody, no, I would basically enter a store and there wouldn't be anybody to greet me, to just ask me if I need help. Right. So
Right.
there are two kinds of people as well. There are I think mostly with respect to fashion industry, maybe this is like sometimes the help is like, oh, they're too helpful. They basically want to get too involved with your
Over
decision,
personalizing.
right?
Yes.
Over personalizing. While in consumer electronics retail, it's the other way around. Sometimes the support that is really required from a customer standpoint is not there, right? And let's call it an assistant. We call it live assistant online. So as experiences from a customer standpoint, just imagine uh, what are the ways. So if a customer is basically browsing through a category for a long time, so he's basically going through smartphones, and you are recording. When I say you're recording, you're basically you have these analytics on this customer to say that he's a logged in customer. He's been looking at smartphones like for the last 14 days. He's not bought anything, right? Maybe he's not able to
Mhm.
find what he's really looking for. So
Right.
how can I trigger a conversation with him, and that need not just be an email to say that, oh, customer, oh, why are you not coming back, you've been looking at the website for the last 14 days. And that's almost like rude to say that, who are you to basically ask me to come back, right?
Right.
But even if he's coming back on the 15th day, if he's still coming back on the website, we identify him that he's basically been looking and looking, he's not been able to find something. We basically pop up a live assistant to say that, hey, Shine, are you looking for something? I mean, probably we can help you. And it all depends on language, etc. So this is what we call as personalized experiences, to identify customers' needs and to satiate to these needs, rather than basically just tell them, oh, here's the new, Samsung S22 or iPhone 15. Everyone in the world, everyone in Saudi Arabia, please go and buy it. Right? This is like almost trivializing me as an individual to say that, oh, don't you know that, as an example, don't you know that I'm not an iPhone customer? Why the hell are you sending me this kind of conversation or
True. Very
communications?
true.
Right? So this this is already, I mean, this should already have been a differentiating factor. This, I think, going forward in the world of AI, where data price wars, and all of these elements will continue to be major deciding factors. I think giving customers the right personalized experiences through multiple channels, whatever that is, not and not differentiating a customer between online versus offline. These, I think, are the elements that would determine the success of retailers going forward more than anything.
Very true. Um, as you rightly pointed out, like AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence playing a huge role right now. And how do you see that the future of consumer electronics retail would be, both digitally and offline, and how AI and ML, or maybe better newer technologies, would impact that?
So I am a bit of a late adopter of Chat GPT, right? I mean,
Mhm.
recently been obsessed with Chat GPT, just to
All of us have been.
trying to challenge Chat GPT to understand what can you do, what all can you do, what all can you basically. And of course, I mean, I can proudly say that I've still found things to say that they don't still identify this. But again, this is again probably asking them for more. I wouldn't call them personal, but very specific information, which I'm almost certain they wouldn't be able to respond. But there are certain instances where they've given me better responses than what I would have responded in that scenario, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
As an output, because I'm looking at ChatGPT for output, right? So, so and again, what is this? What is ChatGPT? It's again a lot of data. It is just data being
Right.
compiled and mined in such a way that uh, compartmentalized. Because I don't know. I mean, this would be like massive amount of data. I don't know the amount of data that, and I don't know where this amount of data is being stored. To be very honest. So from those perspectives, and as an example, I would always think, what would be the next step for an iPhone or a mobile phone for that matter? It keeps getting bigger. Either it becomes bigger and becomes a tablet or a laptop at some point of time, or it basically just becomes invisible and it becomes a chip in your head, or
Mhm.
basically a partner that is walking besides you, an invisible partner beside you. So again, technology in itself is turning out to be limitless. The kind of things that we are hearing nowadays. A lot of things are very sophisticated. I think probably accessible to only the higher echelons of mankind per se. We are still living more close to reality. Um, those kind of people. I'm still talking about those kind of people, not talking about the superficial people who have already evolved to the point that they can probably figure out how to have an invisible mobile phone, as an example. So technology and again, so this leads to a point of where is business leading to, where is retail leading to per se. We talk about metaverse,
Right.
we talk about metaverse, and uh, so every retailer, as an example, when these buzzwords come out, this would be first on their agenda in terms of they wouldn't know really how to implement it. Uh, what is the effort that is required? Is this really required for me as a business? But that would be their let's say high hard line for the year, or for the forthcoming year, to say that we need this
Right.
as well as a technology.
Right.
And I think especially with metaverse as an example, although there's been a lot of investment, there's also been a lot of I think issues that have come out with metaverse with respect to privacy per se, with respect to the amount of, and again, it's about metaverse mingling with crypto, getting into that zone, blockchain. So there's a lot of buzzwords that are running around at this point of time from a retail standpoint. How retail is going to evolve is very interesting with respect to what kind of products, especially in digital and even, let's say, home appliances. I think, as I said, we almost have talking fridges. We have fridges that order on its own. So
Right.
a
Right.
refrigerator which basically figures out what its contents are, and then it not necessarily tells us what needs to be done. It basically goes onto a website where it would check again for price parity to say that this is the store that is basically giving me eggs for 10 real rather than 20 real, and then self ordering it.
Right.
Right. So this is the
Right.
kind of technology that we're talking about.
Mhm.
Where can technology go? So the evolution of products, right? And from a retailer's perspective, it's their so this is products as per se. Then we have technology that is evolving, personalization with respect to recommendation engines. How further can recommendation engines work based on the data they have? Marketing that goes out to customers, marketing messaging, how this communication channels, how can this be unified across, let's say, online, offline, and how can this data be used to send offline data for an online customer and vice versa, as an example. So this is evolution of technology, evolution of product, and then we have the world in front, which is basically doing things like chat GPT, metaverse,
Right.
blockchain, etc. So
Right.
it is evolving into a an interesting circus, um, and it is very. I think it's almost endless. It's limitless. The possibilities where retail can reach as a space, I think is also turning out to be endless now. There used to be limitations. Okay, stores can sell so and so items, online can sell so and so items. Now there is no boundaries between. It ceased to exist. Post COVID, uh, it's almost right. Like everything is even with augmented reality. So like even I can almost have a life size refrigerator without the refrigerator being there. So
Right.
it's not really about online offline anymore. It's about evolving technologies, evolving products, and the world evolving around it. And I think the possibilities are endless, to be very honest, from a retail standpoint.
True, true. I really like that interesting circus part. I mean, like all of us are super excited about what comes next.
Yes.
You did touch upon the emotional part, invading the privacy part, and being ethical. So, how important, in your opinion, is sustainability in retail and sustainability in consumer electronics retail specifically?
So yeah, again, as I said, right, beyond a point. Okay, I know that probably I'm looking for uh, mobile phones as an example. And I don't want to probably disclose the fact that I'm looking for a mobile phone for my wife as an example, right? In this case,
Right,
I'm just looking for a mobile phone, and I'm looking at various options. I've been looking for quite some time, etc. So to personalize me and tell me that, Shine, you've been looking at these, let's say, brands, these models for some time, and I think this would be a better option for you as a recommendation, or as a marketing communication. But somehow, at some point of time, figuring out that this is for my wife, and basically coming back to me, even without me actually telling you as a website that, oh, I'm looking at this for my wife as an example, you still come back to me and say that, oh, this would be better for your wife, either based on data, to say that probably I'm looking at pink iPhones, me as a male. I'm not, I'm just giving an example. So
right, right.
I hope people don't take it in the
Completely.
wrong sense to say that I'm discriminating against a color or race, etc. So
Mm,
again, this is what we don't want to make as assumptions, right? To say that I've been looking
true.
at pink iPhones, or pink smartphones for quite some time, and without me even telling you that I'm actually looking at these smartphones for my wife, I don't want you to come back and tell me as a marketing strategy to say that, oh, we think that this would be better for your wife. Now, this is invasion of my privacy, because I've not told you that I'm looking at smartphones. That's fine. And I acknowledge the fact that
Right,
you know that I'm looking at smartphones, but you can't make a decision on my behalf to say that I've been looking at this for my wife, whether it's for my mother, whether it's for myself. I'm intrigued by the color pink, and I don't, it's for myself. So this is where I think data should not, or we should not enable data to take a decision based on data itself. Or okay, probably I'm not saying this the right way. We should not allow data to dictate the elements that are not determined by facts, right? So
right.
there are hardcore facts to say that this is the fact, or this is the data for the customer. Now I don't want, based on the data, I want to assume further. I don't want technologies to assume further on top of that data and say that, oh, we assume that this is probably what you're trying to do based on the data that we've given, and so here are fit recommendations. this becomes
Right.
this becomes a damper for me, and I'm either thinking, oh, either somehow you're figuring out, you're looking at, oh, you're basically been figuring out that I've been chatting with my wife, and I've been sending these recommendations to my wife, asking her if she likes it. You have been figuring this out without me even telling you that I'm looking at this for my wife, as an example. So this is where I think it
Mhm.
becomes critical that because usually it wouldn't be the way that there is that AI robot telling the website, oh, this guy is basically chatting with his wife on the side and he's asking or he's giving him recommendation. Usually, what would happen is
Mhm.
there are assumptions that are being made on the data that is presented. So instead of taking action on the data, people end up taking action on the assumption, which becomes slightly personal. So either you're judging me in a way
True, true.
which is pure invasion of privacy, which I'm not interested, and then it's a damner. I would basically move away and go to this choice, right? This is not basically giving me either. It's not satiating to my IQ or my EQ in one way or the other. So I don't want you as a website. I have choice in front of me. So I think that is where it becomes very important how decisions are based on data as much as possible. And the important thing that to do in this case is to gather as much data as possible. Now, in this scenario, you can ask him, I mean, hey, you've been looking at this smartphones for quite some time. Are you looking for products for somebody? So, that is where you gather data rather than making an assumption already to say that, oh, you're buying something for my wife, probably this is a better fit, right? So it's better
True,
to always
true.
gather
Very true.
data and up your game on that front rather than basically assume something on behalf of somebody and then basically screw with his entire motive of looking at something or figuring out that data for you from your side.
True. So true. I can imagine of an example like I had such a situation. On my daughter's birthday, I received a gift from a toy store, both online, offline. I have been visiting with her name, her age, like how many years she's old, and her school name. That
That
was a
would have been
red
super
flag,
creepy. That would have
red
been super
flag.
creepy.
And
Oh
I
my
was
god.
like, I never shared that. So,
Yeah,
yes, that's like, that is where the retailers have to draw a line. I mean, that
exactly.
is
Absolutely.
the quality part.
The sensible thing over there would have been for them to ask her, oh, I mean, are you interested in sharing your daughter's birthday? Then we can send over a
Never
nice gift,
shared.
right? If that would have been the case, then it would have said, oh, great, they're doing personalization. They're really
Right.
considering me as a person. Now this is basically being a stalker who's basically figure out this is this person who lives here, who has a daughter. Maybe I should send them something. So yeah, that is really super creepy. I agree.
Right. Let me go back to that retailer. As a retailer, some example around the best recommendation strategy or best situation with ergonomy like you've had. Uh, Maybe it was a challenge and then you were able to using recommendations or strategies get the
So
best outcome.
our biggest I wouldn't say issue was cross selling was always our pain area with respect to
Mhm.
uh, um, how do I upselling is still okay because um, is an issue as well. But our biggest issue was primarily cross selling. So I bought I have a
Mhm.
laptop and then uh, how could I cross sell basically a mouse, a keyboard, a whole accessory with a laptop as an example. So this is where we implemented. Uh, I mean, ergonomy along with everything else. Probably one of our success around the time that we implemented ergonomy was us basically implementing the actual right cross sell strategy around the so from an offline perspective at the till or at the customer till. So this is our add to cart basket journey. This is almost where the customer is almost ready to pay, right? And this is where we ideally would offer from a store perspective the different let's say cross sell elements to the customer. So this from our perspective, and this was from a click through perspective, from a conversion perspective, this was the most successful, let's say, placement that we had on the website. So algorithm, I think this is one big example of,
Mhm.
and again, so there could have been a let's say a normal generic rule running on this particular placement or this experience, this part of the experience of the website. But we got a lot
Mhm.
of recommendations from ergonomy to say what is the best practice to basically do at this point of time as an implementation. And that is where we went ahead with that implementation and voila, just like what he said, that was our highest converting placement on the website. Some time back now, we've changed the user experience, etc. But probably talking about the initial experience that we had with algorithm per se.
Awesome, awesome. This is really interesting. This, episode so far has been very, very interesting. Very, I would say, intriguing. A lot of points I have noted down, and I'm ready to start searching them. Uh,
Awesome.
thank you so much for your insights and everything around specifically consumer electronics and retail, and a lot of things that are coming ahead for us, and how we could draw a line between personalizing and over personalizing. Uh,
Yeah.
thank you.
And
It
and
was
and, and basically and basically how we, rather than getting ahead of technology, get at least toe to toe with technology.
yes, point noted. So thank you so much, and have a great association with ergonomy. A lot of other strategies and discussions coming up. I'm eagerly looking forward to them.
Awesome. Thank you. It's again
Thank
as
you.
a been a pleasure, and thank you very much, Meenu, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our wonderful audience as well. Thank you for tuning in today, and thank you for supporting us. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the Retail Story, the show that is available on all major platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode for more insights and perspectives from the world of retail. Until then, take care. Have a good day.